Let's turn these chords into this. What's good, people? It's B-Sticks here, and there's a new angle unlocked. Now, we are going to look at this textured sample today. It is fire. You're going to learn so much. No gatekeeping. As always, loads of tips and tricks, a little theory breakdown, and then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the tutorial, which is going to give you loads of Multikeys Sauce and other things. And I'm using my good friend Louis' kit today called Knobs, and it is fire. And if you haven't checked it out, you need to go check it out. And we've even got a little word from the man himself to tell you a bit more about this kit. So without further ado, let's get into the theory. We're in the key of C major, and we start the A section with just two chords. We're going from the 2 chord to the 1 chord in C major. That means we're going from some kind of D chord to some kind of C chord. Now, the 2nd chord in any scale diatonically, that just means going up the scale, is going to be a minor chord. So if we build a D minor triad with just a D, an F and an A, we're going to add one more note, which is the minor 7th, and that's the C. Chord sounds like this. We're going to add one more note again, becomes a D minor 9 chord, which is perfect for R&B. And then the 2nd chord is just a direct walk down. I mean, you could see this as like a 2-5-1 without the 5, but you don't even really need to think that complicated. For this one, in some of my other videos, I do go over like 2-5-1s in a bit more detail, but just know this is just a 2-1 progression. I mean, if you're thinking of it in A minor, then you could see it as a 4-3 progression, but for ease of like just understanding, let's just talk about it as a 2-1 progression. So our 1 here being C, some kind of C major chord. So we'll choose a nice extended chord. We'll go with like a C major 9 chord. So we've got the C, we've got the E, we've got the G, making the C major triad, the 1, 3 and the 5. We add the major 7th. We can find the major 7th by just going to our root and creating a note directly under the root, and then just raising that by 1 octave. We get a B note, and the chord sounds like this. We add one more note, which is the major 9, or just the 9. In C, that will be D. You can find any 9 by, again, it's just like the 2, same note, but we just raise it up an octave, and it's called the 9. So the number system is quite easy to understand when you kind of think about it. And together they sound like this. You can hear that descending line. All the notes here just run into each other. And that's it for the first part, really. Again, once you put this on different sounds, it really comes to life and gives it energy. So for the second half of the sample, where the vocal kicks in, all we've got is a walk down, diatonic walk down again, but this time instead of going 2-1, we're going 4-3-2. So we're going from an F chord to an E chord to a D chord. We're using exactly the same D chord as before, so that's one of those chords taken care of. To make our 4 chord, which is the first chord in the progression, all I want to do is just like copy the same model that we did from the C, and that will give us like an F major 9, but we just take the 9 out and it becomes that F major 7 chord. Beautiful chord. Then the 3 chord, all we're doing here is we're creating like an E minor 7th. So you can take the D minor 9 and you can just literally raise it up by 2 semitones and you'll get like an E minor 9. Just take the 9 out, you've got an E minor 7. Sounds like that. Notes being E, G, B and D. And then, as I said, our last chord is exactly the same as the first chord in the other progression. So that's pretty much all you need to know theory wise. let's jump into the sample. Let's break it down. There's tons of textural things going on here. There's loads of source that I want to give you guys. I have muted the sound shifter that I had on the master, which was taking this from C major to C sharp major, so that the chords now are going to correspond with exactly what we learned in the theory tutorial. I started this sample with this fire drum loop from Louis' new kit Knobs. It was originally at 120 BPM, but I stretched it to 149. Like, sometimes it's good to stretch loops, so they just give you like a new point of inspiration. Super textured, give me a nice starting point to really just play some chords over the top of, nice and empty. Arturia just announced the update to Pigments, so we're looking at Pigment 6 now. I am a big fan of Pigments, and if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I love to do this multi-keys technique where we load in a number of samples into the sample engine. We use the round robin feature, spread these sounds across each chord, so every time you play a note you hear a different sound, and this really helps to just take up a lot of the sonic space and make your sample sound really full but also really interesting. So again, I've just loaded this up with 4 samples from Coop's one-shot kit Manifestation, gone to the map section, chosen round robin, and I still haven't found a free synth that does exactly this, but if I do, I'm gonna definitely update that. So make sure you're following me on Instagram at Beatsticks Production, and you know, I'm gonna post some little tips, hints and tips on there for you. Let's look at what I played in. Slight variation to the little theory that we learned a minute ago, but essentially the same chords, just broken up and arpeggiated a little bit. Kind of broken, kind of stop-go rhythm going on there. And what have we got here? Well, we have got one more chord. It's just a passing chord, just a G chord, which is the 5 chord of this C here. So I just used that little 5. So you could see this is a 2-5-1, but I'm very briefly going to this 5 chord, just using it for one beat there, just to add a little bit of extra flavor to this progression. Now you can see that I've broken the chord up, and I've also used this E note here as a kind of a pedal tone, so it's current through the C chord and the D chord, and it just kind of grounds us in that sort of flavor of E. I didn't really add too much else to this, you know. I just wanted to keep it sparse because, as I always say, space is your friend. I added one note in the sky keys, which just plays like twice throughout the sample, and you can't even really hear it. It's more of a feel thing that you kind of pick up. Just this little C note here that just plays again twice, and then I added this little sprinkly kind of arpeggiated chordy thing to give us a little flavor going upwards. Like that. Just playing little sprinkles. Again, all these notes are within the chords that I'm playing underneath. I've just raised them up by like an octave here. And if we look at the processing on these sounds, because this is really the only synths that I've got in this sample, or at least in this section of the sample. From bar 17 we change up the vibe, but we're going to go through that in a minute. I just used my favorite reverb, this Rev Spring here, did a bit of EQ in, just cut some lows out. And for the sky keys parts, again, very similar, not much processing, a little bit of micro shift on there, a little bit of chorus. I love that plugin. On that sound you only hear once in the A section. Got this little echo boy here. Now London Rain does this technique where he kind of introduces a sound a little bit, teases it, and then in the next section he brings it in fully. And I've done that here. You can see like halfway through bar 16, just before our B section, I'm preempting this new sound that comes in with these little notes. Like, I added a bass, and those people that know me and see my videos know that I love this Scarby Rickenbacker bass, but this time I added a really cool effect on it, which is this envelope modulating filter, which just makes it kind of go wong 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 wong. Side of the bass for you. And I established this like pattern that's do 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 do, and all I'm doing is I'm walking up from the D, F, arpeggiating up the chord A, C, E, and then when it comes to the C, I'm arpeggiating the note C, E, G, and I'm doing that little slide that a real bass player would do from that B to that C. Wow, like a little, really simple. I added a voice note in, and I just recorded that in on my phone and sent it to the computer. I added a little bit of processing on there, just some phasing, this formant shift here, which helps you get that kind of modern sound. Same reverb again. and a bit of EQ. I wanted to give it that telephone kind of feel here. Again, trying to give every little part its space in the mix is really important. Even when there's not many parts, I know where I want each part to sit. If I play you what we've got so far, the rest of the sample comes from Louis' kit mainly. There's a clap that's not and a kick that's not in Louis' kit, but this is from Knobs. You've got some really, really cool little textures that I put in the key of the sample here. I mean, they just sound so interesting, right? And let's hear from the man himself about the idea behind this kit.
About the name, when I finished Nemo, I was looking through textures in general, and I saw my guitar pedal in front of me.
Right there.
And I looked at them, and bro, these next hits have to you know?
Yes, that's right.
I have to call this kit Knobs. I don't know, just sound great and makes sense with textures, soundscape, stuff like that. And yeah, for the process of the kit, I just, like I told you, I just created effects chain.
Yeah.
And put this on my DAW, process sounds, put on the vintage equipment, like chroma console, thermite, delta preamp, was made in Brazil, and was simple, but was long too, you know?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I spent 6 months making this kit.
Wow, 6 months.
Yeah, but I'm happy with the result, you know?
Thanks to Louis for that. And you can also get a discount on Knobs if you use my code, which is right here. Check it out, guys. Make sure you go grab that, and also grab some of my free mini kits. The link is in the description, so check them out, guys, and follow me on Instagram at Beatsticks Production. I really appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Rounded off the whole A section of the sample with all our textures in. So cool. It just sounds amazing, right? And that just works as a little bed underneath the rest of our sounds. And in the B section, I changed up the vibe here. I kept this percussion going, but I kind of faded it out because I wanted to keep that continuity, but also introduce something new. And as we discussed, the progression here is like 4-3-2. My first sound was from the Sky Keys, and I just went for this About Time, the first preset that you get when you open it. We looked at the processing a second ago. Just playing some really nice sparse chord voicings here. Very kind of Summer Walker, late night 2 a.m. R&B type stuff. I used a piano on top of that, where it was just a Logic stock piano, and I'm just kind of doubling up. Just sounds really nice. This texture plugin is just really cool, just adding a bit of grit underneath that sound quite low down. I use my Moog Growler bass, which I brought in halfway through the sample, just accentuating the root notes, nothing too crazy. Bringing this in halfway through as well just kind of adds to that tension and that dimension there. Now, another little sound from Knobs that I used here, just this textured sound. Used it as a bed throughout the whole sample. And again, don't be afraid to stretch these, loop them, mess around with them. That's what they're there for. A little triangle for percussion. And a beautiful vocal from my friend Emmy that I actually wrote and demoed myself, but I won't play my original demo. But this is going to be in a pack that I'm going to be releasing soon. She's incredible. And I put some cool effects on this vocal as well. So guys, if you got something out of this, go check some of my other videos. Make sure you check out Louis' kit, and I'll catch you on the next one.